Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 42 of the Cross Media Show. Today's topic of discussion is the season 3 review of Titans. Before we get into that, though, we've got a little housekeeping to do. If you're watching this on YouTube, consider dropping a like and a subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for all notifications for our shows such as the Penultimate Game Show, the Cross Media Show, Marvel Mondays Initiative, Anime Nation, and my show, Stats on Stats. If you're watching this on Twitch and have Amazon Prime, you have Prime Gaming, which means you get one free sub to give out a month. We'd love if you gave it to us, but hey, if you didn't, we won't be too hurt. For those who don't know me, my name is Richey Stevens, the Lit RPG expert here on the Penultimate Conquest, and today I am joined by the Batman comic expert, Anthony. Anthony, how are we doing today?
I'm doing very good. It was a nice, relaxing day at work, and so I'm happy to sit here and talk a TV show which not a lot of people are watching from my friend group, at least. And so it's nice to have some others to discuss it with.
All right. And the man with very impressive steelbook collection. I think he's up to 85 now. Saj, how are we doing today?
Around there. I'm doing good, man. Just played some of the new Guardians of the Galaxy. Enjoying that.
Nice. We love to hear it. All right. Before we dive into our discussion, I just have a few more things to cover. We're just going to go over the stream and podcasts for the rest of the week. This week, we're back to our shows, and a new episode of my show, Stats on Stats, is now up on YouTube and all the podcast services, so you can check that out. And also, yesterday's episode of the Cross Media Show, where they discussed their thoughts on Dune, is up as well. I've yet to watch Dune, so I can't share my thoughts on that one. Tomorrow, we are live reacting to the Sony State of Play, and that's happening at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. So that will give us some updates on third-party games that are happening, and what's some stuff you guys liked, or what would you guys like to see come from this? Any predictions?
I think we're going to definitely see more of Horizon, the new one coming out. I forget the whole name. And then I don't know if it's too early in the cycle, but I think they're going to announce some new plates for the PS5. Yeah.
Okay. Anthony?
Personally, I'd always like to see some VR spotlights. I was a first day adopter of PSVR. I've enjoyed it all the way through. There's been a lot of great experiments on it, and it's always nice to see, at the start of a console cycle versus at the end of one, what developers are able to achieve. And we're kind of winding down the PSVR as we prepare for the next one. And so
I'm going to go ahead and say it. You guys know what I'm going to say. We're going to get some more PC announcements for PlayStation games coming to PC. Now that we have God of War coming in January, they're going to announce another lineup. Ghost of Tsushima's next, and Final Fantasy VII Remake. All right. And on Thursday, we have the community live stream for the Mario Pro Golf Fall 2021 Tournament Cup Extravaganza, and that is happening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so our normal times. We also have some new merch on the website. Go check out our No Gods hoodie and t-shirt, and also the Stats on Stats hoodie and t-shirt, which mine's coming in the mail. It just got shipped. Ruben just texted me about it, and I am excited. So, let's dive into our show. Titans. You know what? I want to go ahead and we'll just talk about our initial thoughts for the entire show. Like, for me, at the beginning, season 1 was a bit rough. I wasn't super fond of the casting and just the way some of the characters looked, where they're like, yeah, they have their costumes, but they don't really have their costumes. And the fact that it took 3 seasons for us to get costumes for certain people just bugged me, but I like the show. I think the show's good, and they're doing well with what they have. What about you, Anthony?
So for me, with the first season, it was clear they were trying to find their footing with some of the characters, how to present them, and they were trying to go in this obvious kind of dark direction. Everyone remembers the "fuck Batman" line, and all that entailed. But I thought in season 2 they did a really good job of, after that first episode where they had to like splice season 1 into season 2. But season 2, episode 2 going forward, I thought it was a really good show. They did a good job finding those characters. Season 3, I'm a bit more iffy on again, unfortunately, but we get
Okay.
further in depth as we go in.
All right. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say on that. And Saj, what about you, buddy?
Season 1 again. Looking for their footing for sure. But season 2 was great. I really appreciate this show about how they like focus on the villains so much. The whole season just concentrates on the ups and downs of the antagonist. So that's what I really like about the show so far, actually, the most.
Okay. So overall, for I would say this season, what would you say, like, if you had to give it on a rating of 10? I would say for me it was about a 7.5. Like, not the best thing we've ever gotten, but it was still better. Definitely better than the first season for me. Didn't top season 2 though, but it definitely had its moments. What about you, Anthony?
I agree that this was below season 2, but above season 1. Um, I'd probably do 7, maybe 6.5, somewhere in there.
Okay, nice little comfort zone. And Sash?
I'll go ahead and give it like a 7.5 or 8 even. I feel like its highs were higher than season 2, but its lows were lower than season 2, so it's kind of like in limbo.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll just start out with, what kind of the big part of this season was and the one big character. And that is my boy, Jason Todd. I am a Jason Todd stan, and I've always loved Jason Todd. I've loved the Red Hood. And when they announced that we were getting Red Hood in season 3, I was a bit hesitant because I was like, how are we going to do this? Are we going to have a time jump? Are we going to go through like the normal classic telling of Jason Todd? Because I remember back in season 1 during the episode titled just Jason Todd, we got the poll of, do we want Jason to die or will Bruce save him this time? I voted for I wanted him to die because I wanted Red Hood.
Mhm.
And I think they executed it perfectly, in my opinion. Just having the Joker with the crowbar and beating the
Mhm.
ever living shit out of him. And then Bruce coming in with the crowbar all bloodied up. I was like, that was different. I wasn't expecting
That
that.
was different. Hmm.
What did we think about that the whole scenario surrounding the death of Jason Todd in the beginning of the season?
I guess I'll go
Anthony,
first.
I'll
Oh,
let you
is
go
it already
first.
going? Or okay, yeah.
Okay, I'll go first. So for me, it's so the first. Or let's see here. I'll start here. Season 2 ended in about 2019, and then there was a big gap until this year when it came back. And so honestly, I had forgotten how dark the writers and the creators of the show tried to make the show. And so coming back is like, okay, we've established all the Titans, we have them all, they're in their new city, they're gonna be together, and it's gonna be not happy, but like a more family dynamic as they learn to get along, trust each other, and all those sorts of things. And that was not that was not what this show was about. And so my expectations were very much flipped. And so personally, as a lifelong kind of reader of these characters, it was a very odd interpretation of the Bat family because even though this show is, marketed as Titans, this is very much a Bat family season. And so I thought the way they held the beginning of Jason's journey from Robin into the death and going into that, I thought they did a good job with that. Um, the characterization of Bruce was such an odd thing to experience throughout the show because it goes kind of against any sort of other characterization we've had of this character outside of maybe like uh, those odd not what if, Elseworlds is what DC calls them. Those kind of odd Elseworlds tales where Batman is more of a loner and more dark and more vindictive and all these other sorts of things because we don't really see that with the villains when he's breaking arms and legs and those sorts of things. We've
Yeah.
never gotten that where he points that same kind of energy towards his kids, the Bat family, and all that sort of stuff. So that was a very odd and interesting and unique sort of spin to take it, which definitely sets the show apart. Whether it's for good or bad, that's kind of up to you.
Okay. What about you, Sash?
Um, I loved the way that they opened up with Jason Todd and that whole scene, and it had a lot of moment, really good what connections to the comic book, and the way it looked and everything was perfect. Um, I didn't like how they handled Jason. Are we going into that part yet, where
Mm.
we talk about Jason's death or anything like that?
I mean, it's kind of implied at this point.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Okay.
are you talking about like the
Yeah.
Lazarus Pit and stuff like that, or
Yeah. That's what I was
yes?
asking about.
We'll go ahead and dive into that.
Yeah. So I don't like uh necessarily how they represented him coming back from Lazarus Pit. I think he should have been way more messed up in the head than he was. It just kind of showed him, and he kind of just seemed the same, except just a little bit upset. You know, I thought he should have just gone into this incredible like streak of mania or something like that. But other than that, like the opening of him dying was very well done.
And the thing with the Lazarus Pit and with him coming back, Anthony, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong here, since you're my Batman expert.
Mm.
With the Lazarus Pit, the longer you are dead, the more messed up it does, or the like more effect it has on your mental state. So if he would have been dead for longer, it would have taken, more of a mental strain on him. Where since he was only dead for I think maybe we'll say about 3 to 4 hours, then it was good. Because if we look at it like in the comics or in the Under the Red Hood animated movie, it's a couple days because they have to take his body from Gotham to Nanda Parbat, which is where the League of Assassins and the Lazarus Pit's
Mhm.
located. I don't know how I feel about the Lazarus Pit being under Arkham's asylum.
Mm.
That was weird.
Yeah, they just said they didn't really explain it. They just said, "Oh, hey, a small bit of the Lazarus pit is now in Gotham," and they didn't really. I don't to what I can remember, they didn't really explain why it was there.
And
From
I don't.
uh, from the brief dialogue we got about it, because it was very hand wavy. Ra's al Ghul had some plans for Gotham, as he always does, and so he brought like some of it with him to Arkham for reasons. But yeah, so as you mentioned, the pit does tend to make you crazy, and so for we see with Ra's al Ghul, because he uses it so much, it will eventually drive him insane. And so we
Mhm.
see with people like Talia, who sometimes dies in the comics and then comes back, it's a brief moment of madness, and then they get calmed down very quickly. Um, so we never get that with like other characters later in the show. They go in, they come out, and then they start getting to work. And so it is a different portrayal of how it kind of works.
Okay,
Good to know.
that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. Well, and has the Lazarus Pit in the comics ever really been in Gotham? Like, has there ever been like some sort of trace? Like, is this a call out or a callback to any of the?
Was there like a hot tub time machine kind of deal going on with Lazarus Pit?
Well, there is not maybe not
Because then,
obvious, but Arkham City had the plot line where
yeah,
it like that sort of similar kind of stuff, and so they could be drawing from that. But Ra's al Ghul generally doesn't bring it with him to other spots like that
I
normally.
I
That's
didn't think so.
mhm.
That's what I wanted to make sure on before. So, let's go ahead and just discuss our thoughts on the characters as a whole. Like, who was your favorite for this season? Who would you say probably had the most character growth? Because for me, it is definitely a tie. It's a three-way tie between Connor, Jason, and Dick. Those
You
are
can't do a three-way tie. That's like half the cast.
it's not
Well,
half the cast.
So
It's definitely a good portion of the cast, but it's not
it's a
half the
good
cast.
portion of the cast.
But I would say like just because like they all have their three separate arcs.
Yeah. I was just guessing.
Um, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here again because I don't really remember. Was Barbara in the last episode of season one
mm,
when Dick's going through his like nightmare thing? Because Corey's in charge at Gotham City Police Department, but I don't ever remember like seeing Barbara or Jim.
no.
So this
I
was
don't
our
think so.
introduction to Barbara,
Yeah,
I
and
think
I
so.
thought she
Yeah.
killed it. The actress killed it.
I
She
agree.
did
I agree.
really well. Yeah.
Mhm.
So who would you guys say would be your favorite from this season?
For me, I was really surprised what they did with Corey's sister, Blackfire. That character doesn't get a lot of spotlight in the comics and other kind of properties where the Teen Titans pop up. And so it was interesting to see them take what is generally just Starfire's big bad and make it more complex, more interesting to kind of observe and walk through that character's journey. And to parallel that with Starfire, who in this show lost a lot of her memory and then is trying to find her footing. And so to kind of put them on an even playing field of we're both finding ourselves, although, one a bit more heroic, one less so. But I thought it was just an interesting interpretation of a character who doesn't get used enough to have as much done with. Because someone like Nightwing goes through a lot in the comics and wherever he shows up. He's very popular, he does a lot. And so I thought the actor did a great job with Nightwing. I love him as Nightwing. I think he could just play it as much as he wants, just like the Flash CW, as long as they want to go. Happy to have him there. I agree. I really did like Superboy in the last season, and so I was excited to see him come into play here and to kind of pull on the threads of the Lex Luthor in him with his the way he tries to tackle problems, which sets him apart from Superman, which we don't always see in every interpretation of this version of Superboy, and that is very nice to see.
And,
All right.
on to you, Saj.
Yeah. Still trying to think about who would be my favorite, but I guess I'd have to split it up into different people as well. Dick is always great. Dick, or the actor who plays him, does a really good job. I think Starfire might be it this season because she loses her powers. She gets all those flashbacks finally coming back, where the origin of her power and stuff like that. And God, let's see, there's a lot to say about this season now that I think about it. I think Hank really just like stuck out the whole 3 episodes he was in it, but he made a really good presence and yeah. So yeah, that's my answer.
Now I'm sad. So I do want to shout out to I can never pronounce his last name. He's the guy who plays Nightwing, Brandon Thwaites or Thwaites. Thwaites, yeah, Thwaites. I was really excited when they did cast him. I do love him in Gods of Egypt, where he plays Beck. He plays Prince Philip in Maleficent, and that's what I was really excited about when they're like, "Oh yeah, Prince Philip's playing Dick Grayson." I was like, "Let's go!" But also Henry Turner in the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so that's really freaking cool. I will say, like, each actor definitely did give like their all this season. It feels like it doesn't feel like there was a bad part in the story for like script writing. Like, it felt like the script was very solid. The actors did everything with what they had, and they just overall killed it. Like I said, it's still, if we're ranking it, like, it's still not as good as season 2 was. Season 2 just had a lot more to do because it's hard to top Slade Wilson like ever. But also, I am going to give a quick shout out to Scarecrow. I do kind of like the direction they took Scarecrow with the season. He was
That got dark.
It got dark, but it started out like really, like, he was just like kind of goofy and like, he was just a stoner. He was a typical stoner. And I was like, this is fun. This is humorous. And then when it finally gets into the darker elements of Scarecrow's character, I'm like, holy shit, I'm uncomfortable.
You see him go down this rabbit hole of like insanity as the season goes on, and they do a really good job with that. And then, of course, at the end when he like scars up his face, it's just like, holy shit.
That whole part
Yeah.
was fucked.
Yeah.
So, thoughts on the characters? We pretty much covered that. Just pretty much a basic, like, who.
Cast is good overall.
Cast was very
really
good.
go wrong there. Yeah.
So, here, hold on. I gotta pull something out of my phone really quickly because I have my notes.
Mm-hmm.
But we will go ahead and just we'll dive into, what was your favorite episode? Anthony, I'll let you start first because
yeah.
I'm not sure what mine is.
Yep. As much as, the show is constrained by its budget, I thought the afterlife sequences and how they kind of talked about the characters' journeys through all of that, and getting to see Hank and that whole sequence with Tim, having Tim in there, meeting those characters, seeing him change after, trying so hard to be something, and now having this mentor kind of figure and being put in a space where he can actually grow and stop trying to rush himself. I thought it was a very interesting kind of way to portray it. I know Disney Plus always gets all the praise for all the budget that they throw at their shows, do all the crazy things that they could do. But I thought this was an interesting way to kind of explore death and a way to kind of visualize it and to show it. So I really like that. It stuck it with me.
Right on. Saj?
Episode. Mine would probably be the episode where Hank dies, because just so many twists and turns, and like you don't know if he's gonna die or not. I mean, part of me thought he was gonna live, part of me thought he was gonna die. They did a good job, and the whole thing with Jason Todd having the fake activator and having Dom be the one that actually kills him, that just mind fucked me. I was like, oh shit, she killed him.
Yeah.
And that whole episode was just really well done. So
I remember you were texting me when I was watching it, because I missed the first like 2 to 3 weeks of the show, so I ended up binge watching it on one of my days off. And I got to the episode, and you're like, dude, just hold on to your seat. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
because you're like, it's already so crazy, and I'm like, dude, that's not even it. That's not even what I'm talking
god!
about.
And then
Just wait.
and then we get to the actual like explosion. I thought Connor was gonna come in and save the day. Like it was just gonna be like an instant like quick fix, and then Hank's dead, and I was like,
He's like
what
a
the
second
fuck?
off. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, Jason can't be redeemed after this. Like in the eyes of the Titans, he will never be redeemed after he kills one of their own. For me though, I will say, for my favorite episode, it's really hard for me to pick, but I honestly want to say Lazarus was the flashback episode where it was going like leading up to the events of Jason's death, like all the conversations he had with Bruce, and just how Bruce was trying to actually treat him like a son and show Jason how much Bruce actually cares about him. And the scene where they're in Crime Alley, the spot where Bruce's parents were killed, and he's talking, he's like, Jason, I don't want this for you. I want you out of this because it's going to mess you up. And that scene right there was like, that's what sold it for me, that this version of Bruce is not the guy we thought he was. Because the way like earlier portrayals we've seen of Bruce, he's been an asshole. Like he's just not been a good guy. He was like, Dick always thought that like Bruce was making him a weapon. Bruce was, trying to just weaponize Dick, and then as soon as Jason came along, he was instantly replaced with the Robins. No, Bruce is actually a good guy. He cares about his kids, and he cares about, everyone, even all the Titans, even like Donna, Hank and Don. Like he cares about every one of them. So it's just like that episode right there was just definitely a good moment for the character development of Bruce Wayne, because we don't get much of him in the series.
Yeah, good shout out to like Bruce Wayne's character development in this season particularly. It's just he went from like completely dark and we didn't know anything about him to like him opening up a little bit and showing that he cares, exactly what you were saying, so.
And I'm gonna mispronounce his last name too. Is it Ian or Ian Glenn? Because
how's it spelled?
IAIN.
It's probably IAIN. I don't know.
I don't either. Like
yeah.
he was in he was in Game of Thrones. So like he's got a good lineup. Like I'm looking at some of his stuff. I forgot he was Dr. Isaacs in the Resident Evil movies, and then he was also Powell in the first Tomb Raider movie. I completely forgot about that. So yeah, it's they have an all-star cast for this show, and it's great just to see where
Yeah,
like stuff's going with it.
yeah. I'm hoping for a bunch more seasons on the show, just because I really do want more DC shows that aren't CW per se, just because CW ones kind of drag on. I mean, I enjoy them still. Don't get me wrong, but this one,
I
these seasons are shorter, so they're more to the point.
Mhm.
So I kind of like that.
I haven't finished the last season of Arrow. Like I started it, I got I think right to the first episode of the crossover event, and I haven't even finished the crossover for Crisis on
Mhm.
Infinite Earths. And I haven't been back. I haven't like sat down and watched it. So I really need to get back to doing that. So I'll definitely have to just start doing that again while I wait for the next season. Do we? Oh, hold on. There we go. Cool. So we'll go ahead and we're just going to go dive into our next topic, which I think we've kind of touched base on. So this might be a really quick segment, but did the season have a strong story? Like even with its ups and downs, did it have a strong like arc for a one season?
It had me like excited every Tuesday morning to watch. So I think
I got a text
um
from you every Thursday, just Titans time, and I'm like,
oh,
yeah, I gotta watch
Thursday.
that
Yeah,
later.
sorry. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
Thursdays. I was just like so about it. So I think they had a pretty strong story. Uh, they did what they did with the cliffhangers to make me want to watch the next episode. And um, I just think it was a little rushed at the end, but that's happens a lot. So
it's always gonna happen, I feel like, and that's the best way to handle it. But I'll save that for after Anthony shares his thoughts. Anthony, was this a like strong season? Would you say with even with the ups and downs, would you say this was a solid season?
I think a lot of the actors did a great job. I know we didn't shout out the actress for Barbara, but she was phenomenal. I loved her in this role. Um, it was great to see the kind of flashbacks to their younger days and see the
That was a
playfulness,
good
and then
episode.
get the seriousness of her actually being in charge in Gotham, which sucks, which will always suck, with the police force and the criminals and everything that goes on with that. And she does a great job being commanding, also being vulnerable, and trying to express all the feelings and emotions she has to put up with the life she had with Dick and Bruce to a lesser extent. And so I thought that was a great addition to this show. It made it less of a Titans show, more of a Bat Family show as we went
Hmm.
in through this show. And so I hope going forward we get out of Gotham or more involved with someone like Beast Boy and Raven, these characters who didn't get as much of a spotlight this time around. And so, but outside of the actors, I wasn't sure about the overall plot per se. They do a lot of unique things with Bruce in the beginning, and then they shift focus to Scarecrow in an interesting way. But the Jason Todd, in my opinion, kind of loses um, his choice in it. He becomes very quickly swooped up in Scarecrow's machinations. He doesn't become his own kind of person until the end of the show. But at the end of the show, he's not sure what he's gonna do. And so, while it is an interesting kind of portrayal for the kind of substance abuse discussion, uh, with the family member having to talk through that and that sort of stuff, I don't. I did not find Jason's journey in that middle portion where he was dealing with the drugs in that section of it as appealing from a character motivation perspective. But Scarecrow I thought was interesting, and that was a bigger portion of the season, and that was a lot of fun. Um, but Jason also was a bigger part of this season, and I did not feel as strongly with his arc for a big portion of it.
Okay. All right. Um, I think it was overall very strong season. It definitely did have a bit more downs than I wanted it to, but even with those just having the ups. It was very solid. There was a lot of just fun little details that I was paying attention to that I really enjoyed. I liked kind of getting to explore Barbara's backstory, even if it was for that one episode. I was hoping we would get the, like, the flashback to see like how this version of Barbara ends up in the wheelchair. Because, like usually it's the Joker, it's the whole killing joke thing. He shoots her in front of Jim. I was a little upset that we didn't get to see Jim in this season and that I think they said he was dead. I don't think he's retired or anything. He's dead. He's gone.
In a
So
previous season, they said he was dead. Yeah.
So I'm sad that Commissioner Gordon is dead. We won't ever get to really see him unless it's in a flashback, but I doubt they're going to cast someone just for one scene, really anything like that. Season was definitely pretty strong though. It was definitely a good time. It was always something to look forward to throughout the week, and I just switched days off. So for like the entire season release, I had Sundays and Thursdays off. So Sundays was like my get stuff done day, and Thursdays was my get relaxed day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would watch, I'd play some video games and then watch Titans, and then have my one-on-one back and forth with Saj, and we would just have a good time getting share a little details about the season. And I always kind of knew something was going to happen when he's like, dude, just wait. I'm like, shit, what's going to happen this time? And then it got to the gas moment of the second to last or third to last episode.
Third episode.
Where Dick gets shot in the neck at the end. I went, oh no. Oh, there's no way they're killing Nightwing off.
Yeah, because like there was throughout the episode you were texting me like, oh shit, this happened. Oh shit, this happened. I'm like, dude, just watch till the end of the episode. Don't even talk to me. Just let's wait till the end. And then he finally did. I'm like, yeah, that's the reaction I was looking
There's
for.
the gas. There's the gas. I went, fuck. I will say that there's some things I do wish that we can get a little bit more of. And I'll go ahead and say it now before the final thoughts. Because I do have a few more things I want to talk about before we get to our wrapping up, because we're only at 30 minutes. I wish we could see Gar evolve more, because we've only seen him now as the tiger and then as the bat. That's it. He doesn't feel like Beast Boy to me yet, and he hasn't.
Yeah, he's still Gar, and he's trying to find out like his place in the Titans. I think because he's like going back and forth between the newer guys and the older guys, and just trying to figure out his place in all of the whole thing, because he doesn't really enjoy his power as much as the others do. I guess you could say, like, he says he's in pain every single time.
And then with the last season where he killed the guy when he was in his tiger form after being mind controlled by was it LexCorp? That was actually
Cadmus, right?
Canvas.
It was Cadmus, yeah. It's Cadmus.
That I feel like it gave Gar a little more personality at the beginning, but like as it kind of evolved and he actually started transforming again, I was like, all right, can we get like the gorilla? Can we get like the dinosaur or something? I want to see Gar become Beast Boy. I want him to actually have the mantle of Beast Boy instead of just Tiger Boy. So I'm excited we got him as the bat for like that one little section, but really it wasn't much.
He does have some like badass taekwondo, like just corrupt martial arts.
His training was that was cool. Like in the first episode where they were like going through the labs and like dealing with the thugs, he was like actually laying the beat down without having to be, in his tiger form. I was like, all right, that's cool. Right. Let's move forward from that though.
We're getting character progression from everybody except for him. It kind of seems like, and I really hope they do that in season 4.
Even Rachel, for the minor parts she was in the season, she had a really big step.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's a badass, dude.
She's terrifying, and I love it.
She's a badass.
So there was a lot of controversy covering this next part of the season, and that was the casting for Tim. What did we think of the actor who played Tim?
You can go first.
Anthony, you want to go?
Sure. I thought he did a good enough job with what he was given in the beginning, where he was, I guess, fanboy in the beginning phase, where he's learned. We're meeting his family. We're learning his situation because again, this is another new character the show is
Mhm.
introduced in this season. Um, and then in the back half, I really liked how he started to meld with the other cast in terms of he was getting more exposure with these situations. He was less panicking and more. We were starting to see the Tim Drake we get in the comics, who is this brilliant inventor, designer, who helps the Bat family step their game up in the comics. And so, obviously, this Tim is very early in his journey,
Mhm.
and so we get a very different kind of exposure to him because in the comics, depending on which era you jump on in, either he has a family and he's just Robin because he wants to be Robin and he worked real hard and he proved himself, or sometimes his father was lost to criminal tragedy and he's adopted by Bruce like everyone else, and that he's just another one of Bruce's kids. And so it was nice to see someone who doesn't come from a similar background like Jason or Dick, someone who is a bit more hopeful, who is inspired by Batman and Robin and what they're trying to do in the city, and to see him come forward and take that journey to protect his home, protect his family, protect his community, which we don't get a lot of in this show because a lot of the other characters are much more somber, much more serious. They've dealt with a lot of trauma, and he was a lot of the bright spot in this show for me, and I really like that.
All right. Saj, you want to take the next step?
Sure. So, he didn't stand out to me as much of a character as I think he probably could have, just because he's the to be next Robin, or for what we know.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I guess the way I will the way I would describe him is just like bland. I guess he was just. I think um he went from like up and down really too often for it to like actually be like a character development role for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's about it really. To me he wasn't really a highlight of the season at all.
Okay. Well, for me, like I was interested to see how they were going to do this. I remember there being a lot of controversy around the casting for him, just because Tim in the comics is white and the actor Jay who plays him is obviously not. But I don't think that affects the character in any way whatsoever. I think the actor did a fantastic job portraying an early version of Tim, and then we finally get to see the strands of like the Tim Drake we know, like the Red Robin towards the end, especially when Gar's broken into Wayne Manor and he's going through the passwords and he's like the one that got away and he goes, try Selena Kyle. And when it was like, oh, try the one that got away, I was like, oh, it's gonna be Dick Grayson because he's the Robin that left.
Ah.
And then they're like Selena Kyle, and I was like, "Oh shit, we're going with Catwoman. Let's go!" And then Gar's just
I
like,
love
"How
how
did
he's
you
like,
know
who the
that?"
hell is he?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, "Who the
And
hell is
Gar's
Selena
like,
Kyle?"
who's Lenny?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, that's great.
But and then recently we just got the announcement about Tim Drake being bisexual and all that stuff. So there's been a lot of controversy around Tim Drake in the past. What has it been? 2 months now.
Probably, yeah.
So like, I'm happy we're getting Tim Drake because I feel like Tim Drake definitely. When I think of Robin, I now think of Tim Drake. I don't think of Dick Grayson because he's associated with Nightwing. I don't think of Jason Todd because he's Red Hood. Damien, I think of, but I think of Tim before I get Damien. And then I just don't even think about Carrie Kelly because I'm not a huge fan of The Dark Knight Returns.
Mhm.
But a little fun fact: the actor who is playing Tim Drake, I'm not even going to pronounce his last name because I know I'm going to butcher it and I'm going to feel really bad. He has been cast in The Batman with Robert Pattinson, and he is playing a thug. So he's going to get his ass beat by Bruce Wayne. So there's his initiation. There's his training right there.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I thought that was pretty cool. I was looking at the IMDb just because he's not very well known.
Mhm.
He only
He's
has
young.
10 credits. Yeah, he's very young. He is how old is he? It doesn't have his birthday on here. So
you can just see he's very young. I mean,
He's got to be at least in his late teens. I would say pre-20s. I don't think he's
yeah,
older
yeah, I'd
than
say it's like
20.
18 or 19, something like that. Yeah.
But he started acting. His first credit was back in 2019 on a series called Doctors. He was on one episode in 2019. Then it went to a couple of shorts, a couple appearances here on TV shows, were the World's TV series on Epix, and a TV series called I May Destroy You. I've not seen that. And then Titans. So Titans is really the only thing I've seen him in personally, and I think he did. I think he did a good job for being still fairly new to the industry, and just going out there and doing it.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
we
yeah,
all.
as for the actor. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, as like the actor that was playing the role, I thought he did great. It was just the character of Tim Drake that it just wasn't really stand out to me. Yeah, just to be clear.
I think that's a perfect way to segue into our next series. Is Tim Drake did a great job. Um, so we'll go ahead and dive into what our next topic is, and that is where we would like to see the series go, and how many more seasons would you like? So who would like to go first for this one?
I can go.
All right, Saj, hit me with it.
Let's see. So next season, we basically talked about this already. I want to see a lot more of Gar,
Mm-hmm.
him becoming Beast Boy, and let's see. I just want like some redemption for Red Hood. I want him to come back and there actually be like him being the big bad with somebody else or something like that. I don't know, something fun. Um, and what was the other question? The second one?
How many seasons would you like to see? How many
Oh,
more?
right. Um, I think it would be a solid show for if it just had 6 seasons. I don't want it to go too
3 more
far
seasons?
off from
Okay.
that, just because. Yeah, yeah, we can do 3 more seasons. There's enough Batman villains that could come back.
Is there a big villain you would like to see coming up?
That's a good question. I would have said Deathstroke, but we already did that. Um, no, I don't
Rose could
really
always come back.
think so. Yeah. Um, no, that's a question I will leave unanswered because I have no idea.
All right. Anthony, do you got something?
In terms of villains, I always liked the Hive? Is it the Fatal Five or whatever they are?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hive
The
Academy and
Mammoth,
stuff like that.
yeah, Mammoth, Jinx,
Jinx.
all those characters. I really like those
Oh,
characters.
what is the tink? What is Gizmo? Gizmo.
Yeah, Gizmo. Yeah, I always like those
Forget.
characters, and then you'd have maybe Brother Blood. I don't remember season one if he was even introduced or what, but
Mm-mm.
those two groups as a whole, those could do a really good job for like a season to season kind of stringing together into seasons 4 and 5.
Okay.
In terms of how many seasons, I'm not really sure because something like the CW shows, they go very very long on one villain. Agents of Shield, towards the end, definitely. I don't remember early on, but towards the end of the Agents of Shield run, they would just split the show in terms of, it'd still be 22 episodes, whatever it is that we do in America, but they would just split the plots for two villains, and then they would find a way to weave it together naturally and do a lot of good stuff. And so I think you could do that and kind of keep it going longer if you'd like, because they've touched Deathstroke, and they've touched Scarecrow, but there's a lot of Titans villains. There's a lot of they could bring Lex Luthor in if they want to give Superboy spotlight. There's a lot they could do with the characters that they have. They've given a lot of attention to Starfire, and I think they've done a great job with her
Okay.
and her going forward. And so you could do. I know they had the Doom Patrol, and now apparently that's on another Earth, and so Beast Boy, a lot of Beast Boy's family, is no longer really up for grabs, and so I'm not sure what they could do outside of just character development for Beast Boy, but I think overall, though, I think they could do a lot of good exposure for other villains that aren't Batman villains, because
Okay.
that's always where DC comes from. Batman first, everyone else later. And so I like getting Superboy, getting Starfire, getting these other characters out there to the general public as much as HBO Max can with its price point and all that.
All right.
The great thing about Superboy is that, yeah, everyone says it's difficult to make a Superman movie, and I can imagine that. But Superboy mentally is very flawed, just
Mhm.
because he has two sides to him, like that he doesn't understand either of them. So they could make a really good story just out of that in a future season.
Mhm.
All right. For me, I would like to see. I think either 2 or 3 more seasons would be the perfect run for it. Um, it had a lot of backlash when it first started, just because like the set photos we saw, like they were just like, "Oh, the cosplayers have better costumes than these guys." Well, yeah,
Then more money.
um, true. Um, for me, where I would like to see the season go, I would like to see some of the more OG cast of the Titans come back, like them introduced. Like we didn't see Aqualad until season 2. We got Hank and Don, and then Donna in the first season. Aqualad showed up, but we haven't seen another original OG member. So I'd like to see Wally at some point. Bring in Wally West. They have to have their speedster to be the Titan, because you can't not have a speedster. Um, and I would like to see some of like the newer characters or the newer team for them. We have the Blue Beetle movie coming out on HBO Max, so I'd like to see if they could tie either that movie into the Titans universe and have Blue Beetle show up, or not. I'd be okay with that. And I feel like having an archer like Artemis, or 'cause I don't know if Artemis is just, she's not just a Young Justice, right? Because she showed up in Arrow
No,
as
She was
well.
in Teen Titans. Well,
yeah,
she was in Teen Titans, right? Yeah.
she's in other stuff. But
Okay.
Young Justice is where most people know that character from.
Yeah, that's where I mainly know her from. I remember, like, I thought
She's
I
in
remember
Arrow
seeing her in the
also,
comic.
but
Mhm.
Yeah, they didn't really do her justice in Arrow, though, in my opinion. But I would like to
it wasn't
see,
too bad, but it
some.
wasn't great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd like to see that for villains. Yeah, Hive. I would love to see the Hive come in. Give me Jinx, give me Mammoth, and Gizmo. I'm curious to see how they would do that. I feel like if we got, I don't know, maybe Cyborg in somehow, but like with Doom Patrol now being on another Earth, because it just doesn't feel like Titans without
Mhm.
Cyborg to me. Because I grew up on the Teen Titans TV show, like the
Same.
original Cartoon
Mhm.
Cartoon Network, where
Yeah.
Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi did the theme song. I still have it in my head,
Yeah.
like it plays constantly.
Uh-huh.
Teen
Um,
Titans.
My mom still asks me what happened to Tara every so often. She'll
uh,
just go, she's like, "Man, what happened to Tara?" I was like, "Man, I don't know, Mom. I'm sorry."
I honestly, yeah, that's another person I would like to see. Bring in Tara, give Gar that like emotional, like,
That is a good pull for what to
because
do.
That's
we
what.
have his
That's.
relationship
Yeah.
now with Raven, and I mean that was always teased in the original cartoon,
Mhm.
but he always had that thing for Tara, so I want to see how they would develop that. So bring in Tara a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah,
be okay
that
with
that would
that.
that would put the focus. That would put a good focus on Gar for
Mhm.
once.
Yeah.
So
But also, I think for the final season, it wouldn't be like wrapping up, because Anthony, you've said this multiple times. Doing the Bat family, I don't think it would be complete without bringing in Damien somehow. Because Bruce is definitely old enough to where him and
Mhm.
Talia could have done the wibbly wobbly a couple times. And, Damien is probably, at this point in the show, he's at least, I would say 13.
Mhm.
He has to be at least 13. Because Jason, I want to say, was like 16 or 17. And where we saw him in season 2 to now. So he would be probably, if we get like a time gap before the final season, I would say Jason would be mid-20s. So yeah, bring in Damien, bring in a 15-year-old kid, and just have him be Damien, just Damian Wayne. Like I think that would be kind of cool to just wrap it up for the final season, to have Damian Wayne and then have the Robin, and then for the final thing have Dick take the mantle of Batman. I think that would be perfect.
Mhm.
That's where I would like to see the
that'd be
series
fine
go.
with me. Yeah.
It is
So now
interesting in
that
terms of like, you go
Oh,
first,
I
Zach.
was gonna say, now that Doom Patrol is in a different universe, that do you think they'll still make like an HBO kind of universe in itself, or do you think they're just all gonna be separate now?
Well, everything I believe is still with the DC extended universe.
Mhm.
So like everything is still going to be connected through the multiverse. where we kind of got Crisis and that kind of connected everything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's hard to say. I know there's talks that Discovery is apparently going to be taking over DC in January. So it's hard to say. I'm hoping that with the new charge and everything, that they'll let Snyder do his thing and have that be exclusive to HBO Max, and then have their other sets of movies going to theaters. And I'd be okay with that. I'm curious to see where everything goes, and I'm also nervous because DC doesn't have a great track record at the moment. Like, they have some
No,
really good
it's
movies, but they also have some really, really bad movies.
really, really bad movies. But no, yeah, it's kind of a shame that the DC franchise is just getting thrown in all these different directions, and they can't ground themselves like Marvel has, where they have just like the solid backing. They can
They
do no
need to get
wrong, really.
they need to get their Kevin Feige. So bring in Anthony. You're gonna have to correct me. Scott Snyder. He's the one who did the New 52 Batman run, right? Court of Owls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bring in Scott Snyder and Bruce Timm, who did the original animated series, and put them in charge. Like, Bruce Timm and like is the big in charge, kind of like Kevin Feige, and then Bruce Timm or Scott Snyder is just kind of like helping him, but have Scott go mainly help the script writers and the story development. I think they would be perfect off.
It
Yeah,
so
they just need to
they
put
did.
trust in different people than they have.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Sorry,
For
Anthony.
you're fine. For Warner Brothers, DC, and all that, Bruce Timm is currently involved with their new uh the animated Batman the animated series, and so he
Caped
is at
Crusader, is
yeah,
that what it's
something
called?
like that.
Yeah.
It is Cape Crusader Batman the animated series. It's a pseudo sequel revamp thing. So he is at Warner Brothers currently working on that.
Mhm.
Uh, and Scott Snyder actually just launched his own company, and so he's
Oh
busy
shit!
making comic books as a publishing house, basically, with creators, indie creators on their own. He's partnered with Amazon, and he's getting his books out there, and then they're going to go to print later. And he's doing all sorts of cool stuff. He's teaching people how to write comics online, so he's actually quite busy. So unfortunately for that, but you are right where DC does need someone in charge because currently it seems like it's run by committee from a business perspective, and the
It
business
is.
people don't know. Like Swamp Thing was great, but they didn't understand it, so they just canceled it.
That was the
It was a
biggest
great
like
show.
upset.
Yeah.
I think they canceled. Like, they ended up actually canceling it after the first episode, right? And then like
Yeah,
they
so
they finished the
Mid-season at some
season,
point. Yeah.
and
yeah, so they had they shot all they did. They did special effects up to a point, and they're like, okay, we're gonna start airing it. We have post production to do, but before that, guys, we canceled the show that's happening right now. We're still gonna air what we have. Thank you for watching. And that was that was their approach. And
pretty much.
so
So
yes, they do need someone in charge. They had made a big contract with J.J. Abrams from the Star Wars and all that
I
stuff.
think so.
Star
He's
Trek.
doing the reboot for Superman. I think the new Superman movie that got
They're-
announced earlier this
yeah,
year.
he's involved in that. We're not sure if he's doing it officially. We know he's doing Justice League Dark, like Constantine and
If
Zatanna
we can
stuff.
get the actual
So
Justice League Dark movie out, I would be happy. I
yeah,
need that in my life.
so he is involved over there. So there's things they're trying to do, and he looks like kind of the lead person right now, outside of the gentleman in charge of the Flash. That's not the director, like the executive person. His name escapes me. But Flash looks like their big goal right now, and that after that, Discovery will do what Discovery will do. So we'll see what happens from there.
It's a discovery.
I have high hopes. I'm scared, but I have hope. Go ahead and give me that ring, because I have hope right now.
I've
So
already given all of my hope in the past. May as well just keep on going, right?
yeah. So we'll go ahead and start wrapping up with final thoughts. Overall, I think we can kind of agree that this season was pretty good. Any like last minute thoughts you want to share on the season, guys?
Not really. I mean, I'm just excited for the next season to come. It kind of seems like a shame that it's only 12 episodes for all the content that they're trying to Express. You know what I mean? Like they
Do we
didn't have
want longer
they had a
seasons?
time crunch. Maybe up to like 18. Can they do 18 episodes? Is that a thing?
I think
Or does it have
18
to
is
be
normally
12 or
what the
24?
CW does for their mid-season shows. Usually their main shows are about 27 to 28 episodes, and then the mid-seasons are about 18-ish. I think the
Yeah.
first
So
season of Riverdale was like 18, or it was like 12, and now the new seasons are 18. But Legends, I think, originally was 18. So if they could
okay.
get away with
So
18, I think it would be perfect.
yeah, yeah.
And
Less rush at the end and just be able to flesh out a little bit more characters than they could. Then yeah, that would be great. Perfect.
yeah, do a couple episodes release at the beginning of the season. I put 3 or 4 episodes out at the very beginning, and then that way they have the weeks to put out stuff, but not take as long.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Whenever you make a show, ensemble shows are always hard to write. And I think they've unintentionally made it harder on themselves from just focusing on the Titans to now throwing in all these Bat Family characters. And so their cast has only gotten bigger. They've gotten rid of, Hawk and Dove.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of it. Everyone else is still here. And so we get characters like Beast Boy and Raven and Donna just kind of falling to the wayside. And so I loved Barbara. I liked Tim. I thought he did a good job with what he had. But I'm not sure the show can sustain this many characters and still try and keep the 12 episode kind of runtime with that. And so as much as I liked Barbara and Tim and Jason, I would like the Titans show to focus on the Titans.
Okay.
And so
I'm going to kind of counter you really quickly, so don't yell at me. For at least one episode, I would like to see the Trinity. I would like to see, this version of Wonder Woman. I would like to see this version of Superman. And, Batman, like, kind of together and have their, like, Hall of Justice, but pass it on to the Titans. Kind of make it, like,
Those are
their
always
base
really
of
fun
operation.
episodes. Yeah, and on the CW when they do that kind of stuff, they're all fun episodes.
Yeah.
They're not too heavy, but they're not too light. It's just fun
It's
to
fan
watch.
service. It's pure fan
Yeah.
service, and that's what I want. I want to get that
Exactly.
pure fan service. So that's my final thoughts. Just give me one episode where I can see the Trinity, together, passing pretty much the mantles on to their people. So having, Clark pass his stuff on to Connor, having Bruce pass on everything to Tim or to Dick, and then Wonder Woman passing on Diana. That's what it was. Diana. I was gonna say Donna passing on to Donna. No, Diana passing everything on to Donna. Now that Donna is officially back, which that episode was cool. That was a good episode too. Her resurrection was great.
Well, I just have a massive crush on her, so that's the reason I'm like
same. and Don and Don. Shout out to God. I'm gonna watch The Roommate tonight now.
Great casting.
Great casting. So we'll go ahead and we will move on to plugs. Hey, Anthony, where can people find you?
if you're interested in lifestyle shows, I now make Hometown Living for the wider Michiana area, some like 27 markets or something. You won't see me on camera until November.
All right.
But I'll be out there making that show if you want to watch about local community events and ways to support the local areas and all sorts of fun stuff like that. On YouTube, I'm having to teach my dad how to do video editing and stuff, so I don't get to do as much of my own projects right now.
All right.
But I will get back to it.
But when that does go up and everything, we can have a link, and I'm sure we can get it to Ruben and have him put that up on the website or something.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Just the voice of Ruben
All right,
yeah. And Saj, where can people find you?
On Twitter, on pretty much any social media handle as Saj and SquarePants. I'm trying to get onto some more podcasts. For now, I'm just on Penultimate every once in a while. So
And Stats on Stats.
And Stats on Stats. So you guys will see me around more often. I had some health issues I had to get fixed up before I was able to come back on camera. So
Right on. All right. And as always, you can find me at Rich Dolphus on Twitter and Twitch. I've been streaming actually a lot more recently just because I have more time to do so. You can also find me on Stats here on the channel and over at Twitter or over on Twitter at Stats on Stats Lit, where Joel and I kind of do updates and do big announcements, which we have a really big one in the works at the moment. I told the group chat earlier and they got to find out. So I'm really excited because it just got confirmed. I can't say anything yet, but I'm really, really excited about that. So look forward to that. And you can always find me here on the Penultimate Conquest. I'll be on tomorrow's episode for the State of Play reactions, and you're going to see me cry or be very excited because my stuff is right. But as always, this has been the Cross Media Show. I hope you all have a wonderful night.